I love predicting the future. I think it's the best thing you can do. And the way you do that is simply look at history. And history doesn't necessarily repeat, but it rhymes. So when I look at the comparison between Europe, China, and America, where would I rather be? America. I mean, you got to be nuts. In China today, they have 180,000 recorded riots already because their economy is crashing. See, the biggest supplier to Europe is China. And China, if euro goes down, China goes down, and the same with us. The difference between Europeans and Americans is significant if you understand basic economics. Fundamentally, the Greeks don't like the Germans, Their host. That'd be like you trying to tell your brother-in-law to save money. It's not going to work. If you have a brother-in-law who's on the couch drinking all day long, partying, having a good time, he's got the babes and this and all that, and you tell him, hey, you better go to work because what? Well, that's the difference between Europe and America. Those guys don't like each other. The Europe was doomed to fail in the first place. At least in America, the thing that we did is we became not a confederacy, but a democratic republic. In other words, a centralized government where people are Americans. See, Greeks are Greeks. They're not French. You may be a Texan, but you're first an American. I may be from Hawaii, but I'm first an American. And that psychological difference is the difference why European Union doesn't really have a prayer. Can't you imagine these Germans are a bunch of Nazis? They work hard, they produce Volkswagens and all this other stuff. And the Greeks are on Uzo having a good time chasing the German chicks.
Yeah,
they're not going to work. Why should they?
Yeah.
They get welfare.
The Swedes coming down in the summer. Yeah. In the winter.
Yeah. That'd be like telling my classmates.
Ios, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Mykonos.
So I don't blame the Greeks. I'd have a good time out there, but you know what I mean? So that's the very problem. The Europeans are individual nations. America is one country. And that's why what you're going to see is the strength in our stock market screwed. But it'll still do better than the European market. The Chinese market is screwed. When the Chinese go down, which they will, it's going to take down countries like Australia, the Aussie dollar, and things like this. So years ago, I was on, a couple of years ago, I was on CNBC, and they were talking about emerging markets. And they asked me this question, which emerging market are you investing in? And I said, Texas. I said, why would I go outside of the country? This place is safe, sound. They shoot people here. Texans carry guns.
Yeah.
You have oil. We're idiots. We're patriots. We'll go and kick butt all over the world and all that. That has tremendous economic value. What they say in Italy, when they said the Italian tank had 1 forward and 6 backwards, reverses, they don't like to fight. They make pretty women and nice cars, but they're not fighters. So when you look at the demographics of the world right now, the United States is in fairly good shape. We're in trouble because of socialism, Social Security, and Medicare. And those are structural problems that we will be facing in 5 years. But they'll still need a house. They'll still be burning oil. They'll still be eating McDonald's. It's still back to the basics. It's not rocket science. You don't need to go outside this country.
Thanks. Who are going to be the big winners and losers out of this after this clears away with Social Security and everything in America?
Well, you already see it. When people say, "Oh, we're in a depression," I say, "Well, if your neighbor loses his job, what's a recession? If you lose your job, you're in a depression."
Depression, yeah.
I hate to say this, but a radio guy in Phoenix, one real famous radio guy, he and his wife were found dead last night. They committed suicide. They're very prominent citizens, but when he lost his job, lost everything, he and his wife went in. Thank God they went to a hotel room to blow their brains out.
That's horrible.
It really depresses real estate value if you kill yourself in your house.
You have to disclose it.
It's just terrible.
It's terrible.
But that's how terrifying this economy is. This is survival today. He's a good guy. He's a great friend of mine. His wife, they're prominent in Phoenix charities and all this. But when somebody loses their job, loses their home, and the next stop is a street, that is absolutely the most depressing thing. I don't know what you could call it. And the lucky thing for me was when I came back from Vietnam in 1973, and I found my dad. I was about 26, and he was in his 50s. He was unemployed. one of the biggest wake-up calls in my life. I sat there looking at him going, holy mackerel. I don't know about for women, but for a man, when they loses his job, they lose everything. Now, if there's no social, with this whole program started, if there is no Social Security and there is no Medicare, what are you going to do? And do it today. Don't wait till tomorrow. Don't wait 5 years. Do it today.
One last thing. I guess we have time for one more question. You always say that, I've heard before, is savers or losers. And we quoted Susie Orman before, which is hysterical to me. That sounds like my mom on the phone every day. Save, save, save. In other words, that person has the most, the person that has the most dollars loses. Can you elaborate on that?
Well, I'm not criticizing Susie or Dave Ramsey and those guys, because financial advice is relative to your education and experience. There was a time, when Susie Orman's advice was good advice. When this woman calls up today, she says, "Hi, Susie, I don't have a job. Can I buy a German Shepherd?"
It's entertaining. It's entertaining. I can't help it when it's on.
Denied! Stuff like this. But, so you've got to listen to the person where your position is. So if you got no money, listen to Susie. Listen to Dave. Dave Ramsey is Act Your Wage. If you're an employee, listen to Dave Ramsey. I'm a real estate guy. I'm an entrepreneur. I own oil. I own gold. I own silver. I own this. Listen to me. So the point here is this: savers or losers, exactly the way Ron Paul says we got to get rid of the Fed. They are printing too much money. Why would you save money if they can print money?
Robert, I wish we had another hour with you. I hope everybody learned something from today's show. Thank you again. Welcome to Texas. Robert Kiyosaki, thenewwest.com. Check it out.
That's a wrap.
Thank you, sir.
All right.
Thank you. It's fun.
Thank
you guys are fun.
Very much.
Appreciate it. Yeah.